if you're using them in a quantitative sense, you want to know that you want data that you can count. If you're using them in a qualitative sense, remember most people don't want to write. And that means in a qualitative sense. If you're using them for the stories, most people don't want to write. I have yet to see a person really take full, just take a full heart into wanting to give us lots and lots of information on a full-blown questionnaire about their stories. Typing and writing can really turn people off because it involves a lot of work. So a lot of tick boxes really works. And actually, if you're doing this, I will be honest, in the qualitative sense, a lot of times you do, if you're using questionnaires, you do end up trying to find themes, and that ends up meaning cutting and counting to find themes. So some ways of being able to reduce that cutting and counting time is to have a few click times, where people just click what they want. Just tick what they want, click what they want. Keep it simple, stupid. Never ask dumb questions. Never ask questions that involve big words or jargon that only you know and that your clients don't know. Because you may be wanting to put questionnaires in to evaluate your services and that, and it's, if you're using something like DBT as a therapy and your client doesn't know, and you go, how well have you found the principles of DBT? And your client's sitting there going, what the heck? So you use the language of your people, not the language of you. Like-its, which we talked about, they're really, 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 really useful. And you always make sure, if you're using a like-it, that you've connected the question to the response. This is really important. What this means is, a like-it is, like I said, that 1 to 5, 1 to 9, whatever scale. And if you have your question's got to match exactly what the like-it is. So if my question is, please indicate how well you agree with the following. My question says agree. So my like-it, in turn, has to start from highly agree, so highly disagree. And it should only use the words agree in it, all the way through. So then you'll have agree, disagree, and with me, neutral in the middle. You wouldn't have highly agree, like, neutral, dislike, highly disagree. Or you wouldn't have agree as you, and please indicate how well you agree with the following statements. You wouldn't have highly like, dislike, highly dislike. If those two match, then the person that's answering doesn't have to find themselves thinking too much. The secret to a good questionnaire is to limit the amount of time the person has to think, and to try to keep the questionnaire down to 5 minutes. 10 minutes is way too long. And I know that some of you would have had experiences of online questionnaires, and you're like, how long is this thing going to go? I filled out one yesterday for our W Squared, which is our IT people. Once I got to the 7-minute mark, I just went down to the please comment part of the page, and I just went, this is too long, please look at my previous comments, goodbye.
Horizon polls are pretty bad for that. Have you ever filled those out?
I haven't filled out one of those, but...
Oh, thousands of options. Looking at this, I don't know, TV programs you watch, channels that you watch.
So you've got to keep it as simple as possible, because you don't want to be tired. And you don't want your people to get tired, and you want to get the rich responses. So rather than thinking about every response, just ask what you need for the research question.
You get $1,000 if you do enough questionnaires.
Would you?
That's why I do them. Just make up the others. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go over this in depth after lunch, but in quantitative research you can also use observation. That tends only to be used in a mixed approach, and that's when you're sitting in a room, or you've got a camera in a room and you're making observations. We'll go into that after lunch. You can also use interviewing, but your interviewing will most likely be structured. So it'll be like a questionnaire, but spoken. So, and I've given you heaps of those examples already, but how well do you like, over a phone is a good idea, good example. And they're only used for triangulation of results. So there's another key word for your triangulation. Is it shape in that word? What's the shape? Triangle. So this is the way I'm only telling you the way that I remember these words. Triangulation means that more than one source of data comes to the same conclusion. More than one source of data comes to the same conclusion. So if, and that example was really good I gave you about NCEA. Our survey said that, so we had a survey, that NCEA, kids will only go for the credits. Our focus groups agreed with that, but they also pointed out that there would be other things that they would do as well. And in the case of this particular study, our interviews with the teachers confirmed it. So those three sources of data confirmed that finding. If one source doesn't confirm it, then we go back and we look into what's going on with our lovely literature review. That becomes a source of triangulation as well. So we get our big story. Triangulation is pretty much essential for qualitative research. And you can do triangulation with just 2 bits of data, so like interviews and observations, but I tell people, if you want to go really well, 3 sources of data work well. They might not be 3 different instruments, they actually might be 3 groups. I interviewed teachers, I interviewed students, and I interviewed parents. So same instrument across 3 groups. Did the stories match? Yes, no. Why didn't they match? Literature review, stories overseas. So good example where they might not match is students' experiences at school. Teachers might say the students are having a really good time. Parents might say the students are having a really good time. Students might say they're having a horrible time. And I might find that that is a similar pattern to what's happening overseas as well. That the stories that come from the teachers and the parents don't tend to match the stories that come from the students. So triangulation, and then with that literature review I can check out when there's differences happening. Because the differences might not mean there's something wrong with the story I've got, they might just mean there's something wrong, something different when I look at my story compared to others. This all makes sense?
Yep.
Triangles. Okay. Take a breath. Take a breath.
You take a deep breath.
Take a breath. This is the hardest bit. This is all you need to know about statistics. And the yawn hits. And then we don't have to worry about this again for a while.
What is
Okay, there are when you're taking when you're getting your data, you get numbers, and the way that you analyse those numbers will depend upon the type of number that you've gathered. And so we have different categories for those numbers, and that determines how you're going to talk about those numbers in the report, how you're going to actually display those numbers. So the first one is nominal. Now, all nominal means is yes, no. Do I fit into a category or not? But when that word dichotomous comes up, dichotomy means 2. When non-dichotomous comes up, it means more than 2. Okay, so dichotomous is 2, non-dichotomous is more than 2. What this a nominal response is simply a person ticks a box. There is no scale or anything. What nationality do you identify with? What gender do you identify with? What school did you go to? What is your favourite ice cream? These are just boxes that people tick. Okay, they're called nominal stats. They're either in the box or out of the box. They can't be both in the box and out the box at the same time. If they're not in the box and out the box, then there's a wrong box being created. We've missed out a box on our questionnaire. So all we're going to do is count them. This is what that statistic, I put what you might remember these from school, but instead of assuming that everyone remembers it from school, all you're looking for is the mode, the number of responses. From this survey, 28% of the respondents were male, 25% of the respondents were female, and whatever the percentage afterwards identified with another gender group. So been able to say exactly what's in the boxes. Because they're nominal, the only way that I can show them in a picture is a bar graph. So a bar graph just tells me how big that box is. So if I've got, say, nationality, 5 Australians, 2 New Zealanders, 16 Canadians, I can't show that as a line graph. I can only show that really as a bar graph. I could go down to a pie graph side, but you'll see where I've mentioned pie graphs, I hate them, so I say pie graphs are poor caution because they're very difficult to watch. Okay, so nominal are yes or no boxes. Ordinal, they seem to have some sort of measure of difference, but no one really knows what that difference is. Feelings are a really good example of ordinal boxes. How well do you feel today? We really, as researchers, we cannot say this is what a happy person really looks like. And that 2 degrees next to happiness is sadness. And 2 degrees next to sadness is complete depression. We can't say that as researchers because there's no measurement of feeling and there's no measurement of agreement. So I might say a good example today is the temperature outside is absolutely beautiful. How well do you agree with the following statement? The temperature outside is absolutely beautiful. I might strongly agree with it. Some of you might strongly disagree with it. Some of you might be in the middle. Some of you might be off to the side on agreement and off to the side in disagreement. We've got no real idea of how to actually say what constitutes real agreement because opinion differs amongst us as individuals. Okay, so when we're using these bits, so the mode is counting just a number of responses. The median is what you use here. What's the median? That's the middle number. So I lay out all of my, and this is how I get the medians. I might go, say the answers were 11 people here, 12 people here, 13 people here, 14 people, 15, 16, 17, 1, 2, 3, 4. 14 is my median. I've just got the middle number. That's the only thing that I'm going to report. So I will actually say in brackets, 14 people. No, when it came to agreement, the median answer was neutral. So I'll just say what box they ticked. For the 14 people, what box did they tick? Neutral. The median answer. For that, the only thing I'm going to use are bar graphs and pie graphs of caution. I hate pie graphs with a growing T because you've got to actually if you're going to use pie graphs, you have to have 100 people at least because pie graphs are made out of percentages.
And they always have them in magazines.
Oh, yeah, I love it because it illustrates things.